Alright, so we're in my studio today. I'm going to be walking you through this step by step. So let's get started, okay? Alright, now that we have these pieces, I'm going to show you how to assemble the interior and the exterior of the bag. So what I'm going to do is let's pretend that this is the interior of the bag. I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to put them what we call right sides together. And what I'm going to do is, using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew all around these three sides, okay? And of course you're going to pin it like I showed you, that way, you know, parallel with the seam, okay? So that is the interior, easy, easy. But the exterior is a little more complicated. We actually need holes for either the cording or the ribbon to go through, which means we need holes at the top and holes at the bottom. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is, let's pretend that this is the exterior. We're going to put our pieces together. And what I like to do when marking things is, you can either use a pen, but I like to use just a different pin. I like to use these guys to mark stop and start places. And then I use these just for regular pinning. So what I like to do is, I'm going to measure from the top. I'm going to, of course, pin at my start. I'm going to pin at my end, and I'm going to do the same thing as I showed you before, because it's a knit fabric, and knit fabric is tricky. It likes to move. It likes to be so flexible. And another thing is, you want to line up these two seams together, pin those, and just continue to pin like I've shown you before. Okay, so now that we have that kind of roughed in, I'm going to take my handy tool here and I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches. And using my special marking pin here, I am going to mark that. So I am going to sew here and I'm going to stop. And I am going to leave a 1-inch gap. Okay? And this is important because this is the gap I'm going to use to make my casing and to run ribbon through. So, stop, start, you know, start again, go down. Now, here at the bottom, I'm going to mark it about, I'll say 1.5 inches up. I'm going to mark it using special pin. And again, I'm going to make it about 1 inch. Even if your ribbon is wider than 1 inch, it can kind of scrunch. So 2.5, I'm going to mark it. And again, I'm going to sew here, but I'm going to leave some space. And then sew, sew. Same thing down here though, on this side. Pin it. And then again, 1.5 inches up, use one of my special pins. Mark it 1 inch out from that. And you can see I'm kind of eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. I'm very much a seamstress that's like, that's roughly about this. That's a little too rough, but trust me, you've got some play. And then again, we're going to line up these seams and pin it. Pin the top so it lines up. And again, from the top, I'm going to mark it 2.5 inches out. Inches, and then 1 inch out from that, right there. Okay, so I know now when I am sewing this, I'm going to start my seam here, I'm going to stop it here, I'm going to leave a gap so I can run my ribbon through that. I'm going to start again here, go all the way down, stop here, leave a gap for ribbon, start again, go all the way across here, down, leave a gap, sew, all the way up here, stop, leave a gap, sew, and of course leave this. And that's how you do the exterior. All right, let's get those sewn up and then let's start to bring it all together. All right, now that we've sewn the exterior and the interior, I have turned the exterior right side out, and we've clipped the corners. Oh, that could be clipped a little bit better. We're going to clip the corners so those corners will be nice and sharp, or as sharp as they can get with thick fabric like this. I'm going to leave the inside inside out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outside of the bag, the exterior, and I'm going to put it inside the interior of the bag so right sides are together, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pin all along the top. What we're going to do is we're going to line up the seams, of course, and we're going to pin them there. And then we're just going to sew all the way around the top, but we're going to leave a gap for turning. About, I'd say, between a 1.5 inch and a 2 inch gap. And of course, my little trick of using different pins to mark that gap. And of course, notice that I'm pinning those seams first to line those up. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to pin the center again, and then I'll pin it. My little trick for lining up the knit fabric. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark right over here. And if you notice right in here, where are ya? Is the gap that we left on the exterior of the bag. All right, right here I am going to mark the gap that I'm going to leave open for turning. And then I'm going to sew all the way around using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, leaving that gap. All right, now that we've got our two bags sewn together, it's time to flip it right side out. So all you're going to do is just start pushing it through that gap. All right, when you pull it out, you're going to get something like this. You haven't done anything wrong. That's exactly how it's supposed to look. All you're going to do is you're going to take one and push it into the other. You're going to make sure that you have the exterior, and that's the one with the holes in it, is going to be on the outside. And we are almost there. See, we're really coming along. We're almost there.